Join us again today as we revisit the Star Wars Disney Plus series Andor. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to all you new folks out there. This is going to be a follow up to our review of the first 6 episodes of the show Andor. So you're going to want to check those out if you haven't seen them already. Should be a link somewhere up here.
Up here, hopefully.
Yeah, or maybe at the end. I'm figuring out all kinds of places to put these links as I figure out how to actually do this whole YouTube thing.
You know what?
What?
Video description is also somewhere we could put links.
Yes, we could. I might. We'll see.
And pinned comments.
Yeah. So just look in all the places. It'll be somewhere.
If there's not a link, well, we have other videos you could browse our channel for that.
Yes, other videos you could peruse while I'm adding the link, I guess.
Or, them going looking for the video and getting sidetracked. Because, that never happens on YouTube.
No, never. So, now that earlier review, I ended saying that we're probably not gonna do one until the end of the show. However,
I recently started watching it and got caught up today. And by recently, I mean when last week, at the time of this recording, I watched it all in one night.
So not only did that happen, but also I feel like, one, they broke the mold because it seemed to be like the first 2 arcs were 3 episodes each, and this one was 4 episodes. But also, this one was excellent.
This one was very good.
So it needed, in my opinion, a video all on its own, and here we are. So, obviously, spoilers ahead. So
only slight spoilers, folks. Nah, they're big.
Yeah, it's lots of spoilers. So the first 2 arcs of the show, just very briefly, involved the first 3 episodes. Basically, like, here's Cassian Andor, our one of our characters from Rogue One. This is 5 years before that. And this is before he joins the rebellion. It's him getting recruited to go on a mission. And then the next 3 episodes are the mission. But we also get to meet characters like Mon Mothma, as she's still a senator at this point in time. A number of characters at the ISB. It's the Imperial Security Bureau.
Yep.
Right? And get to see some inner workings there. A number of little side characters here and there. Mon Mothma's family.
Wolf Yularen.
Yeah, he's in it. He's in it briefly.
He loses weight over the next 5 years.
Well, he's an older man, so...
And he's, head of the ISB, apparently.
Yeah.
Probably really stressful work.
So, so the first 6 episodes really kind of... They set the stage for various things. Then there's the big heist in episode 6, where they raid an Imperial facility and steal tens of millions of credits.
And Cassian meets a plethora of examples of rebels.
Yes.
People who are true believers of the cause. People that want revenge. And people that are taking advantage of it.
Yes. Also, those people don't make it. So, but we do get to see...
The revenge person does.
Yeah. But we do get to see... some other aspects, but to me, one of the most important things is all of the characters are characters. They're believable characters. They're not there. There's no knight in shining armor, and there's no mustache twirling villain. Even though the Imperials are villainous people, like the ISB, and that gets compounded in the 4 episodes we're going to cover here in a minute, you can still see yeah, but I understand why they're doing it. They're not just outright inhuman monsters. We get why they're doing it, even if what they're doing is inhuman. And likewise, with the rebellion, there's some things to be said there, and we're gonna get to that here in a minute. So,
I did like how was it Lieutenant Gorn was shown,
Lieutenant Gorn.
the insider for the heist, or was it
Uh,
Captain?
I think he was a captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how he had married one of the locals, and like I guess
Yes.
the Imperials didn't know or something, or they just figured that even though she was dead, that he's an Imperial, he's not going to care,
Yeah.
But
I'm
he cared. By the
I,
way,
I'm
spoiler
gonna
alert.
go with something along the lines of somewhere between the two of those.
Yeah, I mean, because even the guy running the base, even though you can tell this is like staunch Imperial, but then when he's talking to his wife, he's all like, "Look, we've got to impress this guy that's coming, so we can get out of this dump, so me,
Good.
you, and our son can be in a much better position somewhere else in the Empire."
And because you guys have made it abundantly clear you don't like it here.
Yeah,
Even though, every 3 years you get quite a sight.
yeah, yeah,
That was beautiful.
yeah. It was, and to see that little moment where even the Imperials, even like the hardcore guys that are there watching, even they're there to guard everything, even they're looking up at it in this
Aw.
in like an almost religious awe, showing that even though they're on the wrong side, they are still human. These things do still affect them, you know.
The inspector had set up a machine to record it.
Yeah,
Like at the top of the dam.
yeah, yeah. He didn't make it to see it, did he?
No.
Because he got it wasted, right? Yeah,
Because he had pulled a gun
yeah,
on on him.
yeah.
And yeah.
But yeah, and you get to see a little bit of the old the Imperial war machine springing into action as far as the Tie fighters there, and you find out, as you should probably have guessed, Tie fighters versus a meteor shower is not a winning proposition for Tie fighters.
Anything versus a meteor shower loses.
Well, Cassian Andor made it out.
Because he had a navigation system that wouldn't go faulty and a guy that could actually use it.
Yeah.
For a little while, anyways.
But yeah, so that's what happens in the first 6 episodes. Cassian, at the end, like, one of the other guys that makes it out is like, hey, let's just take the money and run.
Split this 50-50, and that's good enough for me to not ever know who you are.
Yeah, and Cassian is like, no, and shoots him.
Yeah, just
and then just takes his cut.
The 300,000 he was promised,
and
returns the collateral he was given.
Yeah, and just goes on his way. And so it looks like he's kind of disillusioned with the rebels after all that. And of course, as the next episode opens, you see that the Stellan Skarsgård's character. I really should write his name down because he's kind of important.
Axis.
Well, that's his code name.
Yes, I know. I can't remember his actual name.
We'll go with that for a moment. The Imperials have dubbed him Axis after a certain point.
Because they've tracked all kinds of stuff back to like, hey, they think they've tracked it all back to him.
Importantly, it's one member of the ISB who notably is a woman.
Yes.
And as I mentioned in the other review, the guy who's directly overseeing her, it appears like he wants her to, from all outward appearances so far, he seems to want her to succeed. But he also warns, he gives her that warning. He doesn't spell it out, but we all know it's that whole, like, look, you're the only woman here. Like,
watch your back.
Yeah, like, there's an extra
You've
burden
intruded on the club.
Yeah.
And you need to be careful because of it.
Yeah. So she's keenly aware of this. And as the episodes progress, but she's the one who puts forth the idea of, hey, there's an organized something building here.
Throughout the galaxy, not just in these 3 sectors I'm supposed to be overseeing.
Right, because she notices all these thefts, and more importantly, she points out that because the way the Imperial bureaucracy works, people are very reluctant to report thefts of materials. So once she gets a full picture and then really starts digging, eventually goes to Yularen after the big dust up at the end of episode 6. That's when he finally shows up and is like, all right, well, it's time to unleash the ISB on the galaxy here. And so, yeah, so you see the part of the reign of terror really begin there.
Oh yeah.
And
All mandatory punishments for crimes increased.
yeah, yeah. So Cassian, at by the beginning of episode 7, Cassian has killed a number of Imperials, I do believe. Definitely killed a couple security officers, presumably some other folks. With as readily as he killed those two, and what he ends up being busted for and thrown in prison is literally.
But before that, he goes back to Ferrix, his home planet.
Yeah, and tries to convince
his mom
his adopted mom to try
to leave with him, and she's like, no. And then he pays back everyone he owes money. Well, he gives it to the one lady and trusts her to give it to everybody else.
Yeah.
And then he leaves.
And he leaves and goes to like some beach
Resort
planet.
Not a bad idea.
And then gets arrested literally just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like there's people running and they're like, hey, you.
Yeah,
you're one of them.
They were running. The shore trooper was following. So he was hurriedly getting out of the way and continuing on his way.
Yeah.
The shore trooper catches up to him and was like, why were you running?
Yeah. So he gets arrested for nothing.
Yeah, literally explains, I was trying to get to that supermarket right there.
And so then it's taken to court. It's like a 2-minute trial where the shore trooper's like, hey, I caught this guy. And like, all right, throw him in prison. He's like, wait, what? It's like, yep, sorry.
And the judge turns to the clerk, the stenographer.
Yeah.
And is like, this used to be a 6-month sentence. 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's instantly a victim. Like, it's instant. I'm not going to call it karma, but it's an instant, like, because of what he did, the Empire reacted, and now he's on the receiving end of it.
Yep.
For something he didn't, just for standing there.
For walking.
Yeah.
If he'd remained still, nothing would have happened to him.
Yeah. So, so he winds up in prison. And now the ISB is trying to find him specifically after a certain point. Because the guy that worked for the security company keeps trying to find it. He finally got his job through his uncle at the Standards Bureau.
Yes, Bureau of Standards, where he gets to be the fuel purity guy.
Yeah, yeah. You get to see like the nightmare that would be managing the Empire looks like.
Yes, and the lady from the ISB brings that guy in for an interview
because he keeps trying to find Cassian through all the ways he now has at his disposal.
Yeah. She said, like, you filed 7 requests for this guy, and he's like, no, 8. And she's like, I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt and not count the one from this morning.
Yeah, so he's trying to find him because he's like, hey, I know this guy's connected to some of this stuff.
And I want to clear my name.
Yeah, and so they also figure out that he's probably involved, Cassian is probably involved with the heist because they know he went back and they know he was clean shaven and all the guys that attacked the base were to blend in with the other Imperials.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then there's a few other things popping up. So, Stellan Skarsgård's character, he has like a helper, and she goes and meets with the woman who was the leader of the rebel cell that attacked the base and stole the money. And it's like, well, if we can't make sure Cassian's on our side, we need to make sure he's not talking. And
so they're looking for him now, too.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but it wasn't 100% clear to me that, like, she was actually authorized to make that call. I think she just kind of did it.
I think she's the number 2 person, and she didn't tell the boss, like, yeah, we're going to have him killed.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, Cassian spends this 4-episode arc in prison. And this prison is a hell of a design. There's a wide open door up at the top floor, which is several feet above the ocean surface.
Not several feet, like several meters. Like it is a good drop.
Yeah. So they have all the prisoners take off their shoes, so they're walking around barefoot.
Yep, on the transport there.
All the floor panels are all metal and can be electrified with the push of a button. So all the guards are wearing insulated boots. So there only needs to be so many guards because they can electrify huge sections of the floors all at once. And so you see that. You see that even like whenever their cells don't even have doors. They don't need doors because to get out, you've got to step on the floor, and once it's like lights out, they just turn on the floor.
Yep.
So if you step onto it, you're gonna get fried.
White light safe, red light is live.
Right. And so
We actually see this because one guy decides I can't wait
yeah.
around all this time, and
yeah. So the only time there's any real interaction, so there's each level, then there's cells within the level, and
there's
the prisoners are
levels, sections, and then shifts.
Yeah, and then the prisoners are assembling something. We don't know what they are. They're parts for something. Presumably something with the Imperial War effort, but
that's what I would think.
It's like a 6-pointed thing. There's speculation that it's parts of the Death Star, although I think they're way too small.
Yes. Speculation that
it's the central spoke on the TIE fighter, but they don't quite look right for that either.
So they're too thick to be the connector for the wing on the TIE fighter.
Yeah, so we have no idea what they are. I mean,
yeah, it might be revealed in the future.
Yeah, I mean, either that or they're going to reveal that like the guys on level 4 are building them and the guys on level 2 are taking them right back apart.
I don't like that idea. I really don't.
I don't think they would do that. That'd be a waste. But
yes, but
that's also
Empire can't really waste anything at the moment.
Oh, they got the whole galaxy. They can waste everything.
Look, you got free labor. Why waste it in that way?
Just petty evil, which is something we're going to address here in a moment.
That's Palpatine, not the rest of them, though.
No, Palpatine's like high level evil, but yeah. So that's the prison setup. But even on the way in, Cassian can already see that there's way too few guards.
Mm-hmm.
That if something really went down, they couldn't stop them.
Yep.
And so, like, even on the way in, like, the gears are already turning.
Like, how can we do this? How can we do this?
And so by, I think it's episode 9, is where he finally is just, like, openly talking there in the cells. Oh, the shift manager is Andy Serkis. No, not Snoke in a prequel moment, presumably.
As far as we know.
As far as we know. Also...
Not Golem.
Also, excellent job on the acting front here. Like,
oh yeah,
top notch.
Even the side characters in the prison are great.
Yeah. So speaking of, there's another side character in there who is important to later on. If you paid attention to Rogue One, there's a gentleman named Belshi in there. In Rogue One, he's one of the commandos. Whenever Cassian and Jyn have infiltrated the base on Scarif, Belshi is the main commando they're talking to out there that Cassian is finally like, all right, light it up, set everything off. That's Belshi. Well, he's one of the prisoners. That's how he knows Cassian. And he escaped with him in the escape
Was
episode.
he one of the ones at his table?
I don't remember if he was at his table or not, but they said his name, and then I double-checked IMDb. It's the same actor and everything. So
nice.
Yeah. So that's a nice little connection there. But yeah, so eventually something happens where there's a prisoner who is supposed to be let go.
Mm-hmm.
And then he winds up right back at the prison, but on a different level.
And he starts talking.
And so all the prisoners are like, hey, wait a minute. Are we just never getting out of here? Do they just transfer us to different levels?
So that level got fried.
Yeah. But the problem is, by doing that, now they can't let anyone go because everyone else knows that happened because word spread real quick. And that's one of the interesting things is they weren't ever clear, like, was it just an accident? Like, that the guy just got sent back accidentally?
And honestly, they just assumed none of them was getting out at that point.
Right. It's like, there's never clear answers on any of this. It could all just be like the kind of screw ups you get with a monumentally huge bureaucracy.
Could have just been a clerical error.
Yeah.
That the level started rioting before they could fix it.
Yeah.
And so like,
and then once they did what they did, and that's a discussion that Cassian and Andy Serkis' character. What
Andy Serkis's character's last name is Loy, Loy. I can't remember the first name.
Okay. So, I tell you what, folks, give me just a moment. I hate to do this right in the middle of a video, but we're going to not go through this blind like we do half the time. You might not even see this. I could just edit this out. Kino Loy.
Yep.
So, Kino, like I said, he's the shift manager and everything. So, he's hesitant to want to escape because he's only got, like, 80 shifts left? 40 shifts? Something. He's on the cusp of getting out. And, but Cassian knows he's going to need him to rally everyone else.
And, he knows the facility.
Right. And so he keeps trying to get him to tell him how many guards are on each level because he knows he knows. Cassian knows that Kino knows. And it ultimately comes down to they're just openly talking in the cells, and Kino's like, what are you doing? Cassian's like, they're not listening to us. It's like, they don't have to. Look at how they run this place. They're smug. They think they have everything under control. They don't see all the flaws in all this. There's no way anyone's bothering to listen to us. That'd be the last priority these dudes would have. It turns out he's right. And then they find out the second floor got fried. And that's when Cassian tries to explain to him, that's not a sign of power. That's a sign of weakness. Because they reacted harshly and swiftly without thinking. He's like, power doesn't do that. Power waits. Power makes its move exactly when and where it wants to and does what it wants to. And that's what he's trying to explain to him. And so once he gets him to come over to his cause, once he finds out why.
You're overlooking how he gets him to come to his
Oh
cause.
yeah, there's an older guy
that was on their shift.
Working on their shift on Cassian's table. And he makes it through this last shift, and he's only got 20 shifts left. He is
a very short timer. He is on his way out.
And that's another thing. I never got the vibe any of these guys are hardcore criminals. I think this is a minimum security prison.
Yeah.
So if this is a minimum security prison for the Empire, I imagine maximum security is just sent him to the spice mines on Kessel or something.
Pretty much.
They call a doctor because he falls over. The doctor ultimately tells him what happens, but also tells him this guy just had a stroke. And he shoots him up with something and kills him.
Real bad stroke.
Yeah, he's like, look, the only thing I could do is make it painless for him. And what? He goes, yeah, no. He's like, no one's getting out of here. This guy ain't getting out of here. We ain't getting out of here. Ain't nobody getting out of here. And so that's what finally convinces Kino. And so then the next episode is when they finally make their move. And because Cassian's like, we have to do it now before they realize they don't have enough guards.
Well, because the only time the guards really interact is when there's an emergency, or they bring a new person in.
Right, and since that guy just died, they got to bring a new guy in.
Yep.
And so their big plan is they had been sawing away at a water pipe in the bathroom, and so they finally break it to flood half the floor, so whenever they electrify it, it's going to short it out. And hopefully short out the system for the whole level is the plan, which ends up happening. And then they are able to easily overwhelm the 3 guards that are there, one of whom wasn't even armed.
No, he had
the stun
cattle
stick,
prod.
Yeah. So then they escape, and they fight their way to the control room, shut it down. I was really surprised Cassian didn't shoot those 2 guys once they.
I expected him to.
Yeah.
I really did.
Or at least shoot the control panels. But, yeah.
Well, he didn't need to. I'm pretty sure to initiate the shock, you need a large amount of energy. By shutting down the turbines, which would take months to get running again, it went to emergency power, which means no shocky.
Yeah. So the whole episode, the episode is called One Way Out, right?
Believe that's the title of it.
Because there is one way out. They have to go up and then out into the water. And so once they take over the control room and shut down the turbines and shut down the generators and everything, Cassian's like, look, Kino, you've got to tell these guys what to do. I'm not a leader like you are.
You've done this. They'll listen to you. You need to get them moving.
Yeah. So Kino gives the big speech, and tells everyone, look, there's one way out. Just keep that in mind. One way out. Keep climbing.
As you go, if you see someone falter, pick
help
them
them
up,
up.
help them along.
And so finally they get up to the top, the big open door, and Cassian's like, "Come on, let's go for it." And Kino's like, "I can't." He's like, "I can't swim."
Yeah, he's visibly hesitating,
And Cassian's like, "What?" And he says it again. Then Cassian just gets like shoved out in the big mass of people, and that's the last we see of Andy Serkis's character in the episode. Hopefully, he made it out.
In the shots of them going up, we also see what's left of the Imperials at the prison.
Yeah, they're just
huddled, hiding in a room with like one guy with a blaster, hoping they don't open the door.
Yeah. Yeah, which I believe that included
the warden.
The warden that we saw in the first episode was all cocky about everything. And
yep.
Now he's all like...
He's the one that had the blaster.
Now he's like, please don't kill us. So yeah. But the whole deal with the prison just shows, and the random sentences increasing, just shows just how petty and evil the Empire is. Like the original trilogy, they're adventure movies. Okay,
you're forgetting the torture method they show.
Oh, hey, we'll get to that in a second. The original movies, I love them to death, but they're adventure movies, and outside of a few moments in Empire, they're on the simplistic side, and that's fine. Movies don't have to be more than that. But the fact that there's someone within Disney greenlighting this somehow, and people that want to do it to make movies like Rogue One that introduce moral complexity, that show that the rebels wouldn't have won without doing some underhanded things at various points, and this going to show that, and on the flip side, the Empire is actually evil. Like, it's not a matter of, oh, well, maybe they just have that one rogue commander aboard the Death Star who just kind of went crazy. No, the Empire through and through is evil. So, yeah, this really helps demonstrate just on a day-to-day level the kind of evil that permeates the Empire. So, it was very effective at that. And then, as Chad said, there was the torture method that they mentioned, which... What was it? The recorded sound that this race made as they were being wiped out by the Empire?
Yep. And the technicians that picked it up and listened to it and recorded it were found 3 days later in crawl spaces, insane pretty much.
Yeah.
And so they had people analyze it, go through it, and find what they said were the screams of the children.
Yeah, it was something, and it was like, and the guy describing this is like, the fact that this was because of a race being genocided by the Empire. It's just like, he's just like,
I got a method.
He's just like,
it works.
He's like, yeah, I got this awesome thing to use, without like a thought to where it came from.
Yep.
And then that's where we see our ISB character, the lady, who we're gonna do her justice here too. Hang on. She should be a lot closer to the top.
Hold on, you passed her. Go up.
Is it Deidre?
Yeah. Deidre Mero.
Okay, yeah. Deidre Mero. Deidre. So she has one of the other characters there, and the guy explains it all, and she gets done, and the other woman's like, but you wouldn't believe anything I said anyway, because I'm giving it up without torture. And she's like, it
was Bix.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, you're right. So she's like, all right, do it to it, guys. And leaves her just to be tortured. So, yeah.
And then we see her later on, kind of...
yeah.
Clear, there's been some stuff done.
Yeah, so you see that. You see some more machinations inside the ISB. Stellan Skarsgård's character, a lot's going on with him. Luthen Rael. He goes and meets with Saul Guerrera, which was great. Which is where you find out that Saul is a man of principle.
Yes.
It's not just, let's fight the Empire. It's, who am I fighting beside? Because Luthen's all like, I don't care who it is. Like, we got to take down the Empire. And Saul's like, look, You're wanting me to sign up with separatists? No, no, no.
Saw Gerrera fought separatists.
Yeah. Human supremacists. He rambles off like 4 or 5 other groups, and he's just like, no. He's like, what they're fighting for is every bit as important as who they're fighting. He's like, I'm not signing up with that trash. And so, because Luthen's trying to convince him to go on this mission, and he's like, got some stuff. He's like, hey, if you do this, I'll give you these nice, shiny new weapons for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so Luthen, he's kind of like the mastermind behind the scenes. Mon Mothma, she's still an idealist. She still thinks there's a way out of all this through the Senate. But she's becoming disillusioned, and she's wanting to move a bunch of her family's money, and so she's trying to figure out how to do that because there's new banking regulations.
Thanks to Cassian's work.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to find large transactions.
Right.
Before they could try to trace the money down.
Right. So, and she and Luthen kind of have a little dust up where he's finally like, what did you think we were going to be doing here exactly? Like, this is what it was always going to come to. Like, I'm just taking advantage of the fact we can do it now and get the ball rolling. She's like, but people are going to suffer. He's like, yes, they're going to. They have to. That's the only way they'll rise up and fight. And that's the other thing is like the show doesn't point this out, but you have to consider to a lot of people, the rebels are the problem, not the Empire. Yeah, the Empire is heavy-handed and everything, but as long as you don't cross them,
as long as you don't break the law, you don't try to get rid of the Imperial Army or the Navy.
Right.
You're kosher with them.
Yeah, because it's like in Rogue One, where Saw Gerrera's like asking Jyn, you could really stand to see the Imperial banner across the galaxy, and she's like, it's easy when you don't look up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people do, not just fictionally, but in real life too. We're gonna cross into territory we'd rather not go into there. However, the other part with Luthen is at the end of the 10th episode. He
has a mole.
He has a mole in the ISB,
a high-ranking mole,
and so he and the mole finally meet. They're face to face
for the first time after a year.
And the mole is like, "I'm giving up this. I'm giving up this. I'm giving up this." And he's like, "What are you giving up?" And Stellan Skarsgård gives, and I don't want to oversell this, but
it is a speech.
It's Oscar worthy acting.
Yes.
And I never thought I'd say that about anything in a Star Wars movie or show, but it genuinely is. Where he goes through and explains, he's like, "What have I given up?" And he just goes through. He's like, "I've given up the concept of peace and quiet, ever having a relationship, a peaceful life, knowing that I'm building something. My conscience, knowing that I'm building something that I'm never going to live to see the fruits of my labors, knowing that I have to use the weapons of my enemy to defeat my enemy." And he's like, in short, what have I given up? Everything. He's like, so for you, you can be disillusioned a little while longer. He's like, but I've given up everything for this. So yeah, it's a hell of a moment, and honestly, worth it up to there for that moment alone.
Also, speech is made all the better because they're like in the underlayers of Coruscant, and Stellan Skarsgård's on a walkway over nothing, and he's got that dramatic billowing of his clothes.
Yeah,
because he's like in robe-like clothes.
Yeah, it's
not flight suits and such.
It's a hell of a thing.
Oh yeah,
and it's a shame to know that his character almost has to die before the end of this, since we don't see him in anything else. Which sucks. But
or he's in prison somewhere.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Maybe they had him in prison on one of the other detention levels of the Death Star.
God, that would suck. So what's your character's post note? Oh, I got blown up on the Death Star. Oh yeah? Well, they didn't even know I was there.
I mean,
that'd be terrible. But yeah, and Mon Mothma, I think, is about to finally hit that moment where she's got to decide what she has to compromise, because the way she's got to move her money, she might have to literally give away her daughter to another guy's son.
Yeah.
Based on the mating standards of
their home planet.
Yeah, but what was it? It starts with a C. It's not Corellia, but it's one I've heard of before. If I think of it, I'll put it in the description. But so this guy, he's a mob guy of some kind, right?
He was a corrupt banker.
Yeah. So so he's like, yeah, I can do it. I can move your money. He's like, so she's like, oh, so what do you want in return? He's like, I only want one thing.
He starts with he just wants to come back to that office.
Yeah, I want to have an invitation back here at a future date, and I want your daughter to be there, and I'm going to bring my son. And he's not even like He's not even like let's hook them up officially. It's like I just want them to meet.
Yeah,
that's how I took it. I could be
mistaken. That's how I took it.
I might have missed a line of dialogue.
With how the guy is, it's clear. Like,
oh yeah, he obviously wants it to work out. To hey, you're well known. You're rich and powerful.
I'm rich and powerful.
Like it'll give me the legitimacy I don't presently have, or at least my son anyway. Our houses. It's some Game of Thrones type stuff going on here, and because. Remember, folks, despite all the claims that the Republic is a democracy and all that, most of the planets are not, in fact, democracies in Star Wars.
And most of the senators were appointed, not elected.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, the big hero of it all, Bail Organa, it's a hereditary title that he has. He's like the prince of their planet there. So, yeah. Something to think about. But yeah, so these last 4 episodes, like I said, they were excellent. I have irrationally high hopes for the last 2, which means they will probably not stick the landing, but they might.
I'm hopeful because the end of the last episode, the newest one, it literally just shows that Cassian and another guy made it to shore.
I think that was Belshi.
Because, like, the prisons were miles.
Yeah, they're out
in the middle of the ocean. Like, you could not see the shore.
Yeah, and even making it to shore, like, okay,
you only saw those 2.
Yeah, and even there, it's like, okay, great, you're on shore. Now what?
How you see them running along the beach.
Yeah, how you get anyplace else?
So, like, hopefully it continues on good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he hooks back up with these other folks before the end of the season, because there's only going to be one other season, they've said.
I heard that there's supposed to be 3.
Oh, I thought it was 2. Because I know they wanted 5.
Yeah, they wanted 5.
And Diego Luna's like, sorry, guys.
That'll kill me. I can, 3. But, if you don't mind circling back to whatever they're building, I think we did not see the final product that prison was putting out. Because they were on floor 5. Correct?
I thought they were 4, but they could have been 5, yeah.
Pretty sure they were 5. Well, the parts coming up through the tables they were working at look manufactured as well.
So you're thinking the lower levels are putting that stuff together.
Yes, and then the higher levels assemble what's being sent up to them.
Yeah.
So 6 would
it really just depends,
be assembling off of what they send up.
It really just, it all just depends on what it is, because if it's any part to any kind of war machine, the finished product isn't being built there.
No.
Because if it is the TIE Fighter spoke, those are built by CNR Fleet Systems, and I think they build those in orbital facilities. And if it's like, say, if it ends up being like the cog, like the gear to like the knee of the AT-AT or something, which it doesn't look like it is, but I'm just spitballing, then that's built someplace else too.
The issue is with it, to me, it looks like it's supposed to be a stiff piece once they have it assembled.
Yeah.
But they're putting in a cylinder to where the arms could move.
Yeah.
But they're locking that down real tight at a specific angle.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Like, yeah. I don't know what I would go with.
I mean, we might never find out what it is. Like that
it could just be literally a red herring they threw out. Like, this is interesting. Here you go.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's interesting. I love seeing theories on just random stuff you see in movies and shows.
Maybe it's part of the planet destroying weapons on the Star Destroyer is being built on.
Scarif.
No, no, the one where the Sith Eternal are in the
Oh,
stupid
maybe.
sequels.
Maybe.
Gotta hope not. Hope they don't ever reference the sequels ever again in anything ever. They're terrible. These folks are lucky I'm still watching their shows.
Kinda. I saw a theory for Luthen that I kind of like.
Yeah.
He's a fallen Jedi, consumed by the dark side, and that's why he's willing to sacrifice all these people and everything to bring down the Empire. He doesn't have a plan to replace it with anything, so far as we can tell. He just wants to bring down the Empire.
Yeah, I mean,
I like it. I doubt it's true, but I do like it.
yeah.
Because to have an antique shop that high up on Coruscant and no one batting an eye at a senator showing up, you have to have been embedded there for a long time.
Well, yeah, Stellan Skarsgård's an old guy. He's probably been there a long time.
So, like, he probably had that shop during the Republic era, is what I mean.
Yeah, probably.
So, like, yeah. I don't know. I like the Fallen Jedi theory. I doubt it's true.
Yeah. Well, okay. For years and years on the various message boards, all I've ever heard is, "Oh, we don't have to have the Jedi and everything. We don't have to." And I was always just like, "But why not? Like, they're awesome." And so after Rogue One, I kind of see what people were saying. Like, there can be other things in the Star Wars
You
universe.
had a moment of the Force in Rogue One.
Unfortunately, according to the people who made Rogue One, old Chirrut does not, in fact, channel the Force. Yeah, this is where I'm going to go. This is one of the few times in my life I'm going to say the author is clearly wrong, because that's sure as the hell what happened.
You mean the fact that he walked through massive blaster fire to a console and flipped a lever that he didn't actually touch?
Yes. He walked through the Valley of the Shadow of Death and feared no evil, and the Force was his shepherd. And
Well, I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me.
Yeah. Like, and not just that. I mean, there was, spotting Jyn and the Kyber crystal through the crowd. You can't just
blind.
While blind. I mean, you can't just hear that. I mean, come on. Shooting down the TIE fighter, like,
while blind.
Clearly, he might not have been he clearly wasn't a Jedi. It wasn't like a I know how to channel the Force kind of practitioner.
He was not consciously channeling the Force.
He was being guided by the Force. It's just he knew how to open himself up to do it.
Yes.
He knew how to just become the vessel for the Force's will.
He was a temple guardian.
Yeah.
Well, mine guardian.
Yeah, for the crystals.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first 10 episodes, excellent.
Very good.
Hopefully the last 2, also excellent. But we'll see.
Hopefully.
As long as we don't have a Book of Boba Fett situation on our hands.
They can't pull the Mandalorian in yet.
Oh, you say that.
He's not born. Well,
you say that.
He's probably born at the moment, but too young to be pulled in at the moment.
Well, you're thinking too linearly here. We just need a Mandalorian, and there is one alive at this point in time.
Boba Fett.
Yeah. Plus, all the others, but still.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah. There's all kinds of ways we could just, excellent, veer off to Mandalorian territory. By the way,
they could pull in Moff Gideon before it's all over, show how he got the Darksaber.
Which, by the way,
I would not mind that.
By the way, I'm not trying to trash on The Mandalorian. I thought The Mandalorian was a great show. I thought the random Mandalorian episode in the middle of Boba Fett was also pretty good.
Yes. I, too, thought Mandalorian Season 2.5 was good.
So, and my troubles with Boba Fett aren't so much that I'm going to be like, oh, I'm never going to watch that again, like the sequels. This is just more kind of like, really? That's where you decided to go with this? Like, you could have gone any which way with it, and you take a guy who's supposed to be like the biggest badass in the universe and decide that, no, I'm going to become the the daimyo over
Tatooine.
Tatooine and have a peaceful reign as I protect the people. It's like, where did this come from? And I know they try to explain it with the Tuscans, but to me, maybe this is just because I've only seen Boba Fett from the movies and the Christmas special. But, but like,
Yes, we have seen the Christmas special.
to me, Boba Fett would be like, I'm going to rule with an iron fist now that Jabba's dead, and I can take down that sucker that somehow didn't die on his sail barge because I know he was on there. But yeah, that would have been like I'm just going to go and shoot this guy and take over, and then rule with an iron fist. People will pay me tribute. None of this. Oh, I'll defend these people. No, no. He would have gone out there, those kids on the neon bikes, and slapped them around and been like, "Look, you got two choices.
Follow me or die.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I expected. Not, oh well, let's let bygones be bygones. And well, if you can't afford to pay me this month, pay me next month. And it was just like, who is this guy? Like, what is going on here?
Also,
Like, is Tudor Morrison playing one of his other roles? Like, is this Aquaman's dad for some reason here?
also, Boba Fett, skills he has, could have taken over a much better planet.
Yeah.
Not some dust ball out in the outer rim that
Yeah.
barely anyone knows about.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's what we've got to say so far on that. To kind of tie back into one of our previous videos where my nephew asked me about what it makes to be a good villain and whatnot, and I mentioned the whole just super petty, mundane evil that you see in Dolores Umbridge. That's the kind of evil we're seeing from the Empire in this. And it's even there with her. It was still kind of personal. This is just the system. It's just that it's so big, so outlandishly huge. It doesn't know or care what it grinds up in front of it as it progresses, and it's a thing to behold. Like
Yeah.
you just don't see that in the other bits and the pieces of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, it's something. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, agree, disagree,
Thoughts on what's going on in the show, what they were building in the prison.
yeah, put it all down in the comments section. Share it around, like, dislike, subscribe if you haven't yet. If I do it right, there's going to be a little page after this with all kinds of stuff like that on it too, and going to be a little thing that's going to be what YouTube has decided that is the video just for you.
Yes.
I think.
Hopefully.
For those of you that don't have YouTube channels, you can actually, the little screen at the end, you can actually control what videos pop up there, and one of them you can be put whatever the newest video you made is, which presumably is not the video that you just got done watching, and then there's also one that's algorithmically it'll decide of our videos which one is just for you, and then I can also be or jump to this playlist or whatever, there's a link to subscribe and all that kind of jazz. So if you've noticed, the last few of our videos have had those in them, and this one will too. I'm still learning all that because we're still in the infancy stages of everything here.
Yes.
So I probably should have been doing that all along, but I'm not going to go back and do that to our other videos up to this point because the problem is it plays over the last few seconds. So I'm having to add a black screen at the end so that it's not, because the three of us have to sit down and decide. We're probably going to make an end screen like a lot of channels have. That'll have one of us saying something and pointing every which way, and
How about we do that freeze frame of everyone jumping up in the air?
Well, I would, except I'm not sure which one of the three of us is actually going to be able to accomplish that. And then who's going to be left standing whenever we try to land, and experience numerous failures of the structural variety. So then as we're all laid up in the hospital, yeah, that'll be something. So anyway,
blooper reels, people.
Yes, I have been ever so slowly accumulating footage for that too. Uh, Unfortunately, we lost some of the early stuff because I was running out of space on the computer. But I have now a dedicated file where I've been adding things to it. So anyway, something to look forward to. But thank you folks for watching, and we will catch you later.
Oh.